This is Dr. Andrea Vitz with Levelheaded Doc. You are watching the Break It Down show.
Yes, indeed. Dr. Andrea Vitz, for our longtime and frequent listeners, has been a tremendously important part of my life, and her work in emotional sobriety has transformed me physically, mentally, emotionally. And what else do I want to say about that? Aspirationally.
Wow.
So, there. You are one of the very most important people in my life, uh, current and always.
Wow.
And I have a tremendous amount of gratitude for all that you have assigned me, because I know that I could say, you have changed my life. And that's true. But really, you kicked me in the butt and made me change my life.
You
And
did the work.
that's been wonderful. So I would encourage everybody, as we get started on this episode, to go to levelheadeddoc.com and just see what's in there and see what strikes your fancy. The thing I'm really excited about, and the reason that I dragged you out here, thank you very much for coming out. Two things. First of all, I'm really excited that this is the first 3-camera shoot for the Break It Down show.
It's a big deal.
It is technically our most produced episode. Those are Pete's words yesterday. He was like, man, this will be our most produced episode. So that part of it's fun. But also, I wanted to bring you out because we are nearly complete with the recording of the audiobook version of the You've Never Met. And it's sounding great.
Yes.
Yeah. I have the benefit of being able to listen back to it
Yes, you are
because I have all the
definitely.
files. But you are doing it in real time. And the neat thing about it is that the book is a tremendously dense read, but having it in audio format in your voice is terrific, because nobody can read those words like you can,
Thank you.
except for
Yeah.
maybe each one of us,
Yeah.
as the
Yeah. One of the
reader.
students could do it, I think.
So, but only for ourselves. Like, I can read it to me,
Yes.
but to be able to give an audience that is driving to work, or listening while they wash dishes, or just giving people another way to consume this content, I think is really important. And I'm really glad, and I'm really appreciative that you are taking the time to do it, because you're taking a lot
Yeah.
of time.
It's quite a bit of time.
It's an undertaking.
I'm so honored to do it though, because if there's somebody out there who can't read the book,
Yeah.
I want to give another avenue. I always wanted to be accessible to everyone.
Hmm.
I don't want it to be a matter of, oh, I can't afford to see you, or I can't read, or I can't, you know, I can't see. There's people that can't see, right?
Yeah.
So my sister actually inspired me, other than you, to do an audiobook. She's like got 2 little boys at home, and she's like, I want to read your book, but do you have an audiobook?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'll do it for you.
Wow.
But there's so many people, that want to read it, but it's a dense read. And I think if you hear it, it might be a little bit easier to digest. But the thing about this audiobook too is that I want you still to have a copy of the regular book, and I want you to have a copy of the journal, because the audiobook is an abridged version. It doesn't have all the exercises in it, which is the work.
Yeah. It can't have all the
It
exercises
cannot.
in it.
Yeah, you have to be able to write. You have to be able to sit and witness, and I can't do that on an audio version. So,
Yeah. I think that that's important. I think what's going to happen is there are going to be people who introduce themselves to the content in audio, just because there are a lot of us out there who consume a lot of audio. I mean, my throughout the course of my busy day, I always have stuff to learn. I always have stuff coming in. I love that input. And if I'm doing something with my hands that's repetitive, I don't need to concentrate on that. I can concentrate on taking in what I'm listening to. So there are those who are going to approach the content first that way. And then there are those who are going to say, well, I'll read the book because it'll be better. And there's probably some truth to that. But we all learn different ways, and we all learn better when we take things in multiple fashions.
yes,
So if we bring it in through different channels.
I would absolutely love it if somebody listened to the audiobook and got so inspired to do the actual work
Hmm.
that they maybe took the intensive workshop, right?
Yeah.
We have one coming up in January.
Yes.
Or they took the online course that's getting built right now. That's a little bit more on their own timeline. Or they went and they bought the book and the journal and they did it on their own, but they have this foundation of the concepts in a different way.
Yeah.
So when they pick up the book, it's not nearly as overwhelming.
That is absolutely true. Uh, it's such a dense read that there are going to be people who have a hard time, are going to struggle just churning through the content, because what happens, for anybody who hasn't read the book, is that as you are introduced to these concepts, you have no choice but to apply them to your present life, your past life, all the things that you've
Absolutely.
been through. And when you're doing the mental inventory while you're also reading, and you can't help but do it, it's a lot at once. So it's not exactly a fast read. I mean, you can read it quickly
If you're voracious and you have the desire,
yeah,
absolutely you can read through it quickly. You might fall asleep in the middle of a chapter and then
yeah,
wake up, oh no.
yeah,
But yeah, for me, I didn't have this book, right? But if I had, I absolutely would have done it quickly.
yeah,
I was so ready. I was so desirous of real transformation and change because I knew that there's a version of me that really wanted to come out.
yeah. I didn't. I'll be honest. I read the book because I was so interested in how I could help other people apply it.
Beautiful.
And it wasn't long before I realized, oh no, I'm applying this right now. And the best way for me to apply it is to live it.
Yes. Well, there's two things that happen. There's the person that picks it up to read it for their spouse or their family,
Mm-hmm.
their sister that they can't stand, or their mom or their dad, that they're not getting along with. Like
Yeah.
I'll show them. And then
Yeah.
halfway through the third chapter, they're like, oh, wait,
Yeah.
maybe I'm part of this.
Well,
Such a beautiful revelation. And you're right. You can't keep it from yourself once you learn the content.
yeah.
You're subtly invited to, catch the snake in the grass,
Mm-hmm.
which is that part of you that gets to control you that isn't really you. And when you start to get a little peek at that snake and
Yeah.
then you come after it and you corner it and you say, I see you. That's what this work does.
Yep.
And you are revealed, the true you.
Yes. Now I'm smirking because there's another tendency that some people have. Um, we're going to talk about the workshop in a second, but the other tendency that I think people can suffer from is the tendency to weaponize this knowledge, because
Hmm.
this vocabulary makes you look at things differently. I think we've all, those of us who are advanced in our years, have experienced some transformative vocabulary, especially like when you first entered your professional field, whatever it is, you start to learn a vocabulary and then you start to build a framework around that vocabulary. Well, what happens in this content that you've developed is that we take these words that we're familiar with and we start to use them in very specific ways. And so you now have developed a framework for the way you process emotions, the way you process reactions, the way you learn to choose reactions, the learning of choosing better reactions, all
The
of these
learning of
things.
choosing better responses,
Yes. Yes.
because a
Responses.
reaction is just a reaction,
Uh-huh.
something that you learned and replayed over and over and
And
over,
over
which
and
is
over
not
again.
you. We never choose a reaction. And
Yeah.
I love that because there's no excuses. This curriculum is all about no excuses.
Yeah.
It gives you that moment of recognizing where you've been, what's happened to you, and really giving like reverence to your life that you've lived so far and the experiences you've had and the person that you've become because of those experiences. So to take the lingo, so to speak, in the book and to use it as an excuse is the exact opposite of what's intended of the work. So I hear what you're saying. I think you're trying to say we don't use emotional sobriety to poke other people and say, see what you're doing wrong?
Yeah.
You didn't do this right. I know this and you don't. That's just knowledge.
Yeah.
Knowledge means nothing without action and really living something.
And that, I will say, is the difference between consuming the content
Yeah.
and then workshopping the content
Difference between memorizing and really applying.
and really
Yeah.
yes. Well, okay. In the workshop, what we learn in the workshop is that you become vulnerable with your workshop
Yeah. With the group.
mates.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some people have a hard time with that for a second.
Yeah.
And then you realize, no, this is good. This is going to be good. It's almost like, I almost don't want to say this. It's,
Say it.
I will say it. It's almost like any intimate relationship where you go, ooh, I don't know if I want to be naked. And then
No.
you realize being naked's fun.
John, so you,
When
John.
you're with if you're in the right setting with the right people, all that stuff. But what happens is you embrace your vulnerability because you realize that everybody else is going to take, it's almost like we challenge each other in the group.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an entrainment. If you see someone else being brave and vulnerable and gritty,
Yeah.
it makes you realize I can do that too.
Yep.
And then you muster up some courage and you say one thing, and then all of a sudden you open it and you're speaking about all the things that have been holding you back, the things that you haven't been sharing, and the things that you've known your entire life maybe
Yeah.
and have never said out loud. And it
Mhm.
could just be a lie that you told. But when you say the word out loud, and you don't have to say anything in my workshop, it's just a massive tool that's offered to you.
Yeah.
But when you say something out loud that is, for lack of a better term, been trapped,
Mhm.
it is now out here and you can see it differently. And it knows that you've now seen it.
Yeah.
You've caught the snake in the grass.
Right. Right.
And
It's
everyone
been
else
exposed.
is now after that snake in the grass.
Yeah. I think it's important though that you said that you don't have to say anything.
Yeah.
Because that's also true. There are
You do
people
not.
who attend the workshop and everybody goes at their own speed and everybody's supportive of you're going at your speed. So if you
Absolutely.
don't want to be vulnerable right now about this thing, whatever it is,
Yeah. You can't
okay,
you
hang on to
can't
it.
force a sobering up moment. You just can't. It has to come from you. It only comes from you.
Mm-hmm.
You flip the switch. No one can do it for you.
Yeah.
Does that feel true?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very true.
But it feels liberating and refreshing and really just good
Yeah.
to flip the switch. And then you get good at it and you go, ooh, I'm going to flip some more switches.
It's pretty amazing. You're never done growing, right? I mean, this
Yeah.
is why being massively humble and being able to check your ego and check where you're sticking a little bit. Like I always say this work is prerequisite work for more advanced work.
Mm-hmm.
It's like kindergarten. It's opening up your mind,
Yeah.
not your programmed mind,
Right.
to learning new things. So you can go to another master teacher and be like, I'm completely here because I've done this.
We kind of just glossed over your mind versus your programmed mind.
Yes.
And that's something that we can gloss over because
You and I have discussed this at length. Yeah.
At length. But man, I have a lot of instances where I can recall in my life where programming just took over because that's what it does.
Yes.
It takes over. And now when I go back and think, if I had a better understanding of my own motives in that moment, or if I had a better understanding of how I was communicating and what I was putting out, my life would be a little different. And I'm not saying that in any way to fail to be appreciative for where I am right now, because this path is great and I'm exactly where I need to be. But I do think the effectiveness that I feel now, and I'll timestamp age 50, the effectiveness that I feel at age 50. I just think, man, if I had begun feeling that at age 20.
Yes. And you can.
Yeah.
20-year-olds out there, you can
Sure.
feel that level of clarity that John's talking about. It's this ultimate self-honesty.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, checking motive that, if anything, if you get anything from emotional sobriety training, it's I want you to be able to check your motive.
Mhm.
It's so important. Knowing the why behind what you are thinking, feeling, and doing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's missing from a lot of our lives.
Yeah.
That's missing from a lot of people, and the actions that a lot of us take in the course of our day that affect others,
Yeah.
and that affect others in ways. And that's the other thing, is that sometimes we don't realize that we're pushing levers to manipulate something. Nobody likes to use the word manipulate,
Oh.
but we are pushing levers to manipulate
Well,
things.
let's soften the word manipulate.
Yeah.
It's using your hands, Manny, right?
Manny. Yeah.
So we're just changing something with our will.
Hmm.
And a lot of times we could have the biggest hearts and the best of intentions, but there's the program, the ego mind, the traumatized mind, or what I'd call the intoxicated identity that actually has the reins.
Wow.
So you could be this wonderfully loving person
Mm.
and still be manipulating your family. So that's why we say catching the snake in the grass, because it's sneaky.
Yeah.
Not even you can see
Okay. So
it.
as you describe this, my first thought is, oh, I remember this person doing that. And I remember that person behaving that way. And I remember this person being very loving, very caring, very sincere about their affection for me and for whomever else, but being manipulative.
Yeah.
And then I caught that snake in the grass, and I thought, well, you know what? I can't change that. When did I do it? And how can, so that's the other lesson, is that we start to apply these lessons to the people we know, and those who are around us, and the actions we can see that they're doing. But very quickly we realize, especially when you learn to flip your vulnerability switches and you
Yeah.
exercise that, you start to realize, okay, let me look within first.
Well, that's the only place.
Yeah.
That's the only place you can look. I think the biggest thing that the most read word you'll probably see in this book is self-responsibility, self-responsibility, self-responsibility.
Hmm.
That's always the first. You can look at someone else and maybe look for their filters, their trauma filters,
Hmm.
and so that you can soothe them, but not to judge them, to help you in a conflict, but never to manipulate.
Right.
So there's this very important responsibility when you become emotionally sober. And you were talking about that clarity,
Yeah.
knowing your motive, level headedness, managing and not really making the destructive emotions in your body anymore, because you don't have the same perspective that would make you believe the things that you used to believe, that would make you feel the way that you used to feel.
Hmm.
And then also the peace that goes with that. Those are the three promises of
Yeah.
love, of emotional sobriety: is clarity, level-headedness, and peace. Those are, if you have those as a foundation in your personality, everyone feels safe with you.
I'm going to ruminate on that for a second, because I think, especially our longtime listeners know, I have a reputation for having an even keel, and I have all my life. My dad's the same way, and I learned and inherited some things from him that I really cherish in my ability to um, approach situations that way. So I thought I was really good at it, but really having the tools to understand those responses and to craft those responses better.
How was your internal environment? Because you're very even keel. I totally agree, even before you did the work.
Mm-hmm.
But was your internal environment matching that all the time?
No,
So
no.
so you learned how to really be level on the outside, to
Yeah.
be that beacon of strength for those around you, to never lose it.
Well, yeah, and to be
Yeah.
and to be fair to that skill set, I was pretty good at doing it, but it's almost like somebody who's mechanically inclined
Mm.
and then they go to engineering school.
God.
It's a different thing. Now you have a real skill that has measurement and
Yeah.
application of wisdom that has come before you, and the ability to apply your intuitions to something that's, something that's a little more concrete.
Yeah.
So it was that. I mean, I could say that I was always pretty good at diffusing situations, pretty good at analyzing how I could help somebody get to a place they were trying to get, whatever it was they were arguing for, how to create situations where both sides win, something like that. But it's different when you actually have a toolkit,
Yeah.
and then you can start to identify on a more minute level where your um, emotional responses are, where your ability to not manipulate, but open a situation up for somebody else's, exploration or their fulfillment in this situation. I don't want to be transactional about it, but to a certain degree, I do look at somebody who's emotionally charged. I want to receive whatever their energy is about. I know they want to get to a happy place. Maybe they don't, but I want to help them at least,
You
show them
want
a
to,
path to that.
yeah, you want to eliminate needless suffering.
Hmm.
And that's really what emotional sobriety does. It shows you that you are needlessly suffering the
Yeah.
majority of the time, if
Yeah.
not all the time.
And even if it's softer than what some people would term suffering, if it's just friction.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Remove
We've
the
talked about
friction.
removing friction
Remove
quite a
the
bit.
friction. Yes.
So I
From
think,
everywhere.
yeah, that's a that's a really great skill that I've gotten better at with this work.
And I
Um,
like how you say you don't want to be transactional, but there's a formula.
yeah.
So you want to be precise.
Hmm.
And in that precision, you have understanding
Yeah.
and you have more practical approaches that you can use and not get lost in their emotion.
Yeah.
Because when we're first becoming emotionally sober, we don't always have our sea legs yet.
Yep.
So you can easily get pulled into what I call the familiar energy crisis.
Hmm.
The familiar energy, you go to work, you have the same environment that you have to walk into. You have new perspective and you have new self control and self management and all these amazing tools that you've practiced in the solitude of your home.
Yeah.
But when you go into the storm, how are
Hmm.
you behaving? That's where we train. We train in the storm. We train in the harsh conditions. And so that we are always the safest person in the room, the most honest person in the room, right? The most level headed and clear person in the room. That's
Mm.
what I want all my students to be able to become for their environments.
Okay. I'm going to do something real quick. Just a little technical step that I think is going to help me out here because we're having a couple of sound issues that I hope nobody's noticing, but I'm noticing them. So I'm going to do that. I think that's going to help me out a little bit. I also want to talk with you about how you and this coursework. When you wrote the book, you were writing conceptually and you were writing based on things that you made work for you.
Yes.
Now that you've had dozens of people in workshops and you've seen transformations, and so have I,
Yeah.
of people in the way that they approach their lives, their goals, their desires, their behaviors, their relationships. What has changed? Has anything changed? Have you experienced an evolution of the work?
That's a great question. Just to back up a little bit, when I was first writing this book, it wasn't only based on my experiences. This is also based on the many people that I worked with
Mhm.
using these methods that I used for myself and just witnessing them transform and really the work just kept evolving and evolving and advancing. And then pretty soon after several years, maybe 7 or 8 years, I just thought this has to come out of me all the way. Like I
Mm.
have to get this all into one place.
Yeah.
And this book was 600 and something pages. And my editor's like, can we please make this 2 books? So I have a second book coming out called The Advanced Practices portion. But to answer you, yes, it is even still continued to evolve and advance and improve through the workshops. And there's something about, when I used to coach people, it was one-on-one, right? I do still coach people one-on-one, but in the infancy of this work,
Yeah.
a lot of my experience came from one-on-one coaching and a lot of volunteering, hours and hours of volunteering, staying up all night with people. When my daughter would go to sleep, I would stay up through the night with somebody who was suffering and just do the work that I needed to do to create the help for everyone that I could get my hands on, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And so doing the workshops in a group setting has really shown the benefit of entrainment, that ability to get cadence with somebody else who's advanced,
Yeah.
somebody else who went all in. I've had, our first workshop, we were totally full. It was going to be live, and then COVID hit and we got shut down.
Yeah.
But, I would say 80% of the people actually get it. And that was not a number I would have predicted. I would have predicted somewhere around 5%, to be honest, in the first beginning, because it takes this level of courage and this level of all in mentality. I want this so bad. I will do anything to have it. And because you have one or two people that are doing that and that are vulnerable, like you said, that is the magic.
Mm-hmm.
People love it. People want that. People see the peace. They see the transformation of their neighbor and they say, I want what you have. And they can't keep it from themselves. Like you said, once you read the content, it's always in your head.
Yeah.
You're playing with your kids. You're thinking, oh, what's my motive here?
Mm-hmm.
What's this? What was I thinking when I said this to my husband? What was I doing when I said that to my mom? Did I actually mean that? Am I lying to myself? These are just very, very basic examples of the thousands of things that you're going to be thinking due to this work. But yeah, absolutely. It's been such an eye-opening and humbling experience to see these people really get it. And, I have the luxury of knowing a lot of my students after I've worked with them in a group setting, because a lot of them have, train in my gym. Some of them are, just colleagues or dear friends, and just continuing to see so intimately their evolution.
Yeah.
It's so amazing.
Yeah.
And it really keeps me in a position where I always want to level up. I don't get complacent.
Okay.
Because that can be very tempting when you overcome suffering.
Sure.
And you overcome strong, deep-seated personality disorders, for lack of a better term. And you get to this place of peace, level-headedness, and clarity. Yeah, I'm good.
I'm just going to stay here.
Yeah, no, it's so much fun to keep growing. Keep growing. Yeah.
I'll give you some perspective on a couple of things that you said. You talked about the things that you think as you play with your child or you engage in your relationship with whomever. I would sharpen that by saying that you have now a better set of instincts. It's not so much that you think about the stuff as you do it, it's that you intuit more sharply, more thoroughly.
Yes.
And because you have entrained a sequence, you just run through the sequence.
Yeah. Well, you're present.
Yeah.
You're present in a totally new way, maybe for the first time in your life.
Mm-hmm.
That presence is what I call the moment of sobering up, emotionally speaking.
Yeah.
It's like,
and that's what creates the clarity.
Yeah. And you're so clear that you all of a sudden, I love the word intuition, because you naturally now know how to handle things that once were not possible for you.
Yeah.
You felt like, I
Or
have to call
at
this
best,
person.
not easy
Or not possible. And now it's just obvious.
Yeah.
You don't have to make it complicated.
Well, the one of the other things that I learned, and it's not even specific to curriculum, but it's just something that we do over and over again, is the difference between easy and simple.
Yeah.
Because there's always going to be stuff that's not easy.
Yeah.
But if you can make it simple,
a formula sure makes it simple.
Yeah. Then you have a way to attack it.
And taking responsibility and personally demanding yourself to do something.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be diligent with your mental and emotional health.
Yeah.
It isn't something that comes for free. You don't grow up without effort. Age does not promise maturity.
That's true.
It does not. True. You don't just get over and suddenly have all the answers.
Mm-hmm.
You have to search for them. You have to dig up who you really are from underneath the rubble of your past trauma, from the past wrongs that you've done. Get the shame out, get the dishonesty out.
Yeah.
And then your love just, you know, just, oh yeah, this is what I'm made of. I'm just love. Literally, that's all you are. If you feel anything but that, it's not you.
Yeah. And it's really a shame how many people don't allow themselves to experience that,
Oh,
because
yeah. It feels real
it's more
nice.
fun.
So much fun to love.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the audiobook.
I would love to.
What have you gotten from the process of reading this book aloud to yourself or to me?
Other than a couple typos.
Yeah.
Reading this book aloud, what have I noticed? I noticed how much I want to be beside every single person who's reading it
Mhm.
physically.
Wow.
It's really, that's my one challenge I have left in life. How can I be next to every human
That's a
that reads
challenge.
this book?
That's something to
Um,
figure out.
yeah, I just because, I don't want anything to be interpreted in a way that the snake is interpreting.
Okay.
I want it to be read exactly as it is written. Because I don't know if you know, but I'm pretty much a straight shooter.
Hmm.
I'm very direct, and that's the way I love.
Yeah. I've experienced the straight shooting.
Yeah.
I experienced the straight shooting starting with how we met, which was I was a patient of yours on the chiropractic table. And then your straight shooting said, if you were stronger, we wouldn't have to do this often. And that was a tough pill to swallow because I felt like I was pretty strong.
Right.
I didn't know.
You didn't know.
And
Well, no one knows.
right.
You don't know until you know. We're ignorant,
Yeah.
not innocent.
Yes. Yeah. And everybody, you really don't know how strong you are.
You have no idea. Emotionally, mentally,
Mhm.
physically, there's so much you don't know about you.
Yeah.
There's a you you've never met, in
It is.
fact.
I've met mine.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah, I like him. He's all right.
He's pretty dang
It
cool.
turns out he's okay. He's pretty fun to have a beer with sometimes. Um, he has also re-engaged his love of music. He has re-engaged his love of many people. He has re-engaged an appreciation for everything. My parents,
Oh, yeah.
my
The
just
gratitude is very full in you, mister.
yeah. Okay.
You feel that?
Yes.
The awe,
Yeah.
that's where you are your strongest. Is when you're in that reverence for everything.
Yeah. It's almost overwhelming
It
sometimes.
should be. That's what real gratitude feels like.
Yeah.
So many people understand gratitude.
Hmm.
Gratitude is not something you think. It's not a thank you note. It's not a list.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even like, wow, I'm lucky to have a toilet. It's
Yeah.
being so blown away
Uh-huh.
that there's plumbing in your house
Yeah.
that you could almost
That you
weep.
can't stand it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it's waking up and recognizing I have a heart that just beats.
Yeah.
How is that even
I'm not asking it to.
I
It just
can't
keeps
even
doing
make it. I can't make it stop. I can't make it start. I'm breathing even if I'm not thinking about it. I mean, we are magical.
Yeah. We are magical.
We're so blessed. Like we have so much to be grateful for
Mm-hmm.
and really feel it.
Yeah.
And you really feel it. I
I
can
do.
tell.
I really live in it because it's
Yeah.
fun. I
It's the
mean,
best.
it has created I really embrace conditioning, the physical part
Of your
of
workouts.
my
Yeah.
workouts. I really embrace the conditioning because I go to a different place when I'm really huffing and puffing. When I started training after you said that my back would hurt less if I was stronger.
Yeah.
I sort of my first thing to embrace was to tell myself that every time I took that hard breath,
Yes.
when you're really huffing and puffing, every one of those breaths, I imagined were 5 I get to take later.
Mm-hmm.
So I was extending my life with every one of those strained,
At
hardy breaths
least 5
with,
times.
with 5 breaths added on to the end. So that made it so that every time I got in that place where I was really, really huffing and puffing, that I felt a reason and I felt a motivation for Yeah, give me those. Give me more of
You had
those.
a clear intention.
Yes.
And by intention, I mean, think of like a tightrope.
Hmm.
This is how I teach it in my workshop. Intention is seeing where you want to end up, attaching or affixing the end of a rope to that point,
Hmm.
and holding tension along that rope so you can walk across it. The walking across it is the action,
Yeah.
but you have to be so connected to that end point. And
Yes.
you always were. And that's why you lost what, 50, 60 pounds like that.
Yeah.
And your back, how much does that hurt?
Not much.
Right. So
Yeah.
so let's think about that. I love what you said about if you get stronger, your back will hurt less. If you get emotionally stronger, your
Everything will
heart
hurt
will hurt
less.
less.
Yeah.
Everything will hurt less. Your life becomes simple.
Yep.
Your relationships become simple. And when a relationship is simple, they get to be real. They
Yeah.
get this space to I have a lot of people who have met their spouses for the first time.
Wow. You know where this is crucial? I never realized this, and now I'm understanding my own relationship with my spouse, who's
Who
also
we
pretty cool.
love.
I I won't say that I've met her for the first time. I think we've gone through a lot of meeting each other along the way. But now that we're in a different stage of our lives, because we're both in our 50s now, in our 50s.
Just began.
Yeah. And we've both experienced these new beginnings and this newfound clarity. And so I won't say that we're just meeting each other for the first time, but we certainly are re-meeting each other on terms we like better.
Oh yeah.
And that's a lot of fun. That's a lot of fun, especially when you're entering a stage of your life that's different.
25 years you've been married, yeah?
Married 25 years.
So think about that. How many other people, I'm so sorry to interrupt you,
No,
but
please.
how many other people do you know that have been married for 25 years
Uh-huh.
that have a legitimate, long-standing, real,
Yeah. They weren't all easy, by the way.
but no, real now,
Yeah.
this real transformation
Uh-huh.
physically and emotionally, as opposed to just it getting worse and worse, more hiding from each other, more lying to each other,
Yeah.
more chronic disease because they can't talk.
Yep.
They can't get away. They feel obligated. They feel stuck. They feel massive resentment and hurt from past pain.
Oh, man.
And you two have done the opposite.
Yeah.
You've opened it all up and created a new marriage from one that was already pretty dang good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh no, she pisses me off.
She does not. I know you.
I think that one of the important things about refinding something in a relationship is that you get to start over, because we all reminisce about the freshness of the relationship, the newness. There's something to that novelty
Yeah.
that is really cool. You know, when you think back about how you met and
The
all that
romantic
stuff, the
part.
romantic
The
part,
meet cute.
it, yes, you can create or refresh a lot of those things by taking a better look in a
Yeah.
different way, and then improving yourself so that your spouse gets to take a better look at you in a different way.
You nailed it because you said yourself.
Yeah.
You don't say, honey, you should refresh it. You say, I'm going to,
Mm-hmm.
and you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's
And you
been
did it.
it. Yes, I have, and yes, that's been the driver, but she has too.
She absolutely has. Yeah.
So there's been a lot happening there that makes it all, in a lot of ways new again. And new is important at 25 years, I suppose.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I liked there was a lot to like about the 25, but some newness is cool.
Well, that's what we love about emotional sobriety and level-headed doc community in general is that it is for everyone.
Yeah.
If there's anyone who needs any kind of support or struggles with jealousy, sadness, fear, childishness,
Mm-hmm.
right? Resentment, anger, affairs, overcoming childhood trauma,
Yeah.
all things that you can get from this work.
Maybe we should talk about those things, because we are talking about these things in terms where, it seems like it's easy for somebody, I think, who's out there who's facing particular challenges to go, yeah, it was probably like that for you because you weren't dealing with
Of course.
overcoming an affair or
Yeah. And I'll stop you there because I like to tell people your struggles are not unique. They're just not unique. They may be different
Mm-hmm.
in situation
It's
and
hard for a lot of people
circumstance.
to swallow.
It's really hard. And I say it with all love
Mm-hmm.
and experience.
Yeah.
Your
And so
suffering is
and an
not unique.
offering of support.
And a massive offering of support.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't tell you how much support.
Yeah. Yeah. When you hear the words "your suffering is not unique," it's easy to get defensive about that. Well, you don't
Yeah.
know because you've never been me, and you
Right.
don't know these things. And
Yet
but the
all the hundreds
reality
of other
is,
people have said the same thing.
yes, the reality is, it's not about making it so that you are failing to justify that you've been through things that determine
Oh,
some things and deserve acknowledgement.
right.
It's not that.
Oh, no.
It's to say that the others who are around you, who offer up this sense of community, have been places as well that will allow them to support you.
You may have layers and layers of trauma.
Yeah.
And that makes your suffering or your experience unique, but not your suffering.
Mm-hmm.
The solution, the reason it's not unique is because the solution is the same. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Why? What matters is solving it.
Yep.
And if you feel defensive, it might be because you want to still suffer because you're so used to it. And people don't believe that could be a possibility, but it's a chemical.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get addicted to an exogenous chemical, you definitely can get addicted to an endogenous chemical or a chemical made in your body.
Yeah.
We become patterned to make and feel and really attach ourselves to fear, attach ourselves to resentment. Whether we learned it from our childhood or experienced something in our childhood and just kept practicing and practicing, it becomes a skill. So no, your trauma may be unique.
I'm going to slow you. I want to slow you down because there are people out there who are thinking, I don't get that. But here's the reality that we're dealing with is that our vehicles are entrained to keep us alive. And even if you are in fear, if you're in a cave and you're not running out onto the savannah where you can be eaten by a lion,
yes,
you are still alive. So your body wants to keep you in a place where, regardless of how healthy or unhealthy it is, it's still breathing in and out. And it wants that.
Well, that's a very normal fear.
Yeah.
To not be eaten.
Okay. It's just the basis of my example.
Yes, of course.
But the realities that we have are more complex than that. The application is the same.
They needn't be complex.
Yeah, your body though wants you to, and you're talking about the addiction to endogenous chemicals.
Yes.
The endogenous chemicals remind us that, hey, never mind whether it sucks, you're still alive.
Yeah.
So stay here.
Yes.
Because you're still alive.
Because surviving is better than not.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so that's really what defines the addiction to the endogenous chemical. If you're out there and you're thinking, no, that's not me, that doesn't describe me.
Just think for a second.
Yeah.
If you didn't have it, would you be more alive?
Also, I'll challenge everybody to think about how you define yourself, because that's another thing that we've talked about when we say things like, well, I drink because I'm Irish.
Oh yeah. What are your genetics?
Yeah.
What are the excuses?
Of course I do that because I am. And you have
we're all cheaters because, we, it's not true.
Right.
Yeah. It's not an excuse. I love that. It's really important that's that self-honesty component and being diligent and kind of getting over yourself. And when I say that, I don't mean like get over yourself. I mean, rise above yourself in your current state and really take a good look.
Yeah. You can see yourself better from there.
Yes, you sure can.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's fair.
When we begin this work and we start to really go in on when we're starting to realize some progress, when we're starting to really feel good, and now we can apply this work to more aspirational stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe I've fixed a lot of the things that I want to quote unquote fix. And now I feel like I can proceed So my effectiveness has not just caught me up, but now I have some clarity and I can really start to get ahead. Let's talk about your life with that toolkit that allows you to be more effective in your relationships, personal, professional, in
Oh, yeah.
leadership, all of that stuff. Because I think there are a lot of people
Leadership.
out there who don't necessarily need quote unquote fixing.
Hmm.
Although what's going to happen, as we've seen and experienced, is that, oh, you do have stuff. You might as
Well,
well
yeah.
be honest with it and fix it. But now that you've put yourself in a better position to look forward as opposed to looking back, um, how do you think the audiobook specifically is going to bring people further when, let's say, I've read the book
Oh,
and now the
yeah.
audiobook comes out and it's like, well, it's an abridged version. Why
Yep.
would I want that? How is that going to bolster my ability to move
Repetitive,
forward?
repetitive, repetitive. You're in your car driving, you've done the work already. You're going to pick up new information.
Mhm.
You could listen to the book 100 times, you could read the book 100 times, you're going to pick up new information.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're going to say, "Oh, I wish I had known that,"
Yeah.
as if it hadn't been there the whole time.
It's yes.
It's the aha moment
Okay.
that continues again and again. And so, to answer your question, especially specifically about leadership, this is so important. We don't have emotionally sober leaders. We desperately need them.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really think we have a lot of needs, but that is one of them.
It sure would
So
help a lot.
it would help a lot.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is there's a level of stability and security and safety that's required in a leader. And the way to get that or to achieve that is so that you are essentially unassailable.
Mm.
Nothing you say to me will change me emotionally speaking. That is an emotionally sober leader.
Yeah.
When I've done so much work on myself that I can't be stirred emotionally,
Yeah.
because what can control how you feel controls you.
Think about uh, our leaders out there. Think about being unassailable and what that does for your ability to process, for your ability to really determine the moves in a situation that would benefit you and your team the most.
It might feel impossible,
Yeah.
right? I mean, there's still things that happen in my life that kind of tug at my heart,
Yeah.
but nothing that pulls me out of my mission.
If we look back at the leaders that we admire, though,
Yeah.
the easiest thing to identify in what makes you admire somebody is their ability to be steadfast in the storm.
Structurally, having structural integrity is kind
Mhm.
of what I look at it as.
Yeah.
A building has integrity. We have to have that kind of integrity in our emotional state, in our mental state,
Hmm.
and our capacity to have compassion and poise. Because if I'm a blubbering mess sad
Yeah.
because you're sad, how is that helping? What First of all, if I'm
Oh,
suffering,
it's
I'm
so
not helping
destructive.
anyone.
Yeah, it's so destructive. I think we've all been in those situations where you look to someone for help and that person's a mess.
Yeah, and you're like, "Come on."
Yeah,
But a
I'm
lot of
really
people
depending on you
look
to.
for another mess.
Yeah,
And I
it's
don't
true.
mean that in that nasty way. I just mean like someone else who's feeling the same way they're feeling, because it validates that feeling.
Yeah.
And and that's okay to validate someone's feelings.
Mhm.
Recognize you're feeling this way. You can choose something different by looking at it in a new way and by being a new you.
Hmm. Okay. I'm gonna take a tech timeout for two reasons. Number one, we're doing this 3-camera show. Hey, I want to shout out our producer today, and it's Doug Marcos, and he's running the cameras. My camera is going to run out of juice, so I'm going to change the angle and plug it in. uh,
I love your authenticity.
how are we doing on time? Oh my
We have
goodness,
1 minute.
we
No, I'm just kidding.
have,
We have like 11 minutes.
we have like 11 minutes. How do we just have 11 minutes?
I know. I feel like we just started.
Yeah. What do you want to highlight that's coming up that you really want to expose people to, that you really want?
Oh, that emotional sobriety is a global movement,
Mhm.
and it's in its infancy. So the more people want to step up and experience it and contribute to it, the better right
Yeah.
now. Because when you make the change in you, it becomes contagious.
Hmm.
Everyone around me wants emotional sobriety.
Yeah.
It's pretty rare that somebody doesn't. And if they don't, they're just not ready.
Yeah.
And by not ready, I don't mean that you should feel ready because
Mhm.
more than likely you're not going to. But that doesn't matter because I'm ready to help and to lead you. But the people who aren't ready to even look.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I really enjoy is the way that the community, everybody in the community just loves on each other.
Oh yeah, and so much honest, authentic love.
It's a lot of fun because there are people from all walks of life. We all have, some common interests and some disparate interests, and everybody's all over the place. But
It's
the
so
thing that
different.
we have in common is that we support each other in a way that's unusual for its intensity,
Yeah.
unusual for its sincerity, and a lot of fun.
We don't have competition. We have love
Yeah.
and really urgency.
Hmm.
We hold
I was going to
we
say a little bit of competition, but it's
well
not
it's
competition, it's
sweet. It's
urgency.
like playing soccer.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not it isn't a it isn't the same thing as like an egoic competition.
Yeah.
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 It's
It
beautiful.
it it starts with support.
Well,
So yeah, that's fun.
nobody does this alone.
Okay.
We have to be a sounding board for each other. We have to be mirrors for each other. There's
Yeah.
a reason that we get better in relation.
But I don't want to alienate anybody because it's okay to do it alone.
Oh,
It's okay to
absolutely.
start it
I did
alone.
a lot of it alone.
What's
Yeah.
going to happen though is that you will feel the desire to reach out
I would, yeah,
for a community.
I would say the majority of the work is done in solitude.
Uh-huh.
It's when you're alone in your thoughts. It's when you're doing the work.
Yeah.
When you get stuck, you reach out.
There is a satisfaction though in helping other people and in being helped.
Oh yeah, we've had so many people in our community step up and form homework groups. And
Yes.
those people have shown, I mean, they are
Yeah.
stunning at how much work they've done.
Yeah.
I had a girl who brought me her journal. We have a companion journal to the You've Never Met, totally filled out in the midst of the workshop. It's 4 weekends every Sunday for 3 hours. And she had it completely filled out. And that's not very common,
Hmm.
especially completed. And she really looked, she really searched, she was really diligent and honest. You can imagine she had a really big turnaround. Now, why we need community is because of our regression.
Yeah.
When we get a big push forward, our ego really will pull us back. Our bodies will pull us back. And we're going to want that next hit of what we've been addicted to, or the next pattern that we've been continuing to be so good at for the last 20, 50, 70 years. So it makes sense that you pull back and having that community and that leadership to say, it's okay that you pull back. It's okay. It's expected. Let's do the next right thing.
Hmm.
Just keep doing the work. Just keep doing the work. Build the skill as if it's a new skill.
Yeah.
If I give you a hammer, it doesn't make you a carpenter.
I've experienced that. I've experienced that so many times too. The, regression following a big push forward,
Yep,
and then the support that says,
absolutely.
you're good.
Yeah, you're
Let's keep
fine.
going. Let's keep going.
If you didn't regress, it means you didn't go forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So we like that. I look for that. In fact, I warn people they'll have a big breakthrough. I'm like, okay, just know that if you realize that you start doing this again, I would expect that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
And it's okay. Just reach out to me.
Yeah.
Reach out to a member. Yeah.
How has it been? You always offer you famously say, I'm always here for you. And you have absolutely always been here for me. And you've always been here for my wife. That's all I can witness. I imagine you
I'm always here for you. Yes.
Yes. But I imagine you're always here for everybody. How has that been as the community has grown bigger and wider and
It's fine. It's
yeah.
great. I don't,
Still manageable?
yeah, it almost feels like I expand as the community expands.
Okay.
So my ability to be there literally for anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, to clarify,
Hmm.
I'm always there for you.
Yeah.
but there is a condition.
I know. Please talk about it.
What do you think the condition is,
Well, the
John?
condition is that you have to be honest with yourself, and when you come
And
when
with
you come
me.
for help, you have to bring it. And then when there's going to be a plan,
Yes. And
and
you're
then
going to take action.
you have to take action. So it's not a I'm always here for you, so you can call me at 7 o'clock every morning and bitch and moan.
Yep.
It's I'm always here for you so we can figure out your solution so you can do it.
Yes.
So the condition is you have to do the work, you have to solve the problem.
Yeah. The good news is we already have the solution. So there's not a whole lot of time that we need to waste there.
Yeah. So okay, from that standpoint, I think
Makes it a lot easier.
it does. It makes it a lot easier, a lot simpler, a lot more manageable.
Yes.
Because you really, yeah, I'm just looking back at, oh man, when I really needed to talk to you, it's okay. I really need you to hold this mirror up for me.
Yeah.
And then,
And you know the answer.
yeah,
And this is why I love this work, because this work is for everyone. I mean, not everyone. I think everybody requires some form of it.
yeah,
Um, but also it's for everyone, meaning it's accessible for everyone. It's not crystals. It's not new age. Not that that doesn't work. That's extraordinary work too. And it's also not psychology, and it's not counseling, and it's nothing in between.
yeah.
So there's nothing polarizing about this work.
Mhm.
It's not religious. Everyone can use and apply this work.
Yeah.
And that was my primary intention.
And by the way, if you do have a faith that is your basis of your morality,
Oh,
whatever you want
yeah.
to do, there's no interruption to whatever makes you whole.
Right.
There's no interruption to whatever fulfills your soul, however you want to
Oh,
do
in
it.
fact, that will help.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll aid you to believe in something greater,
Mhm.
a power, love.
Yep.
If you believe in love, you're going to do better at this work.
Yeah. And if you do better at believing in love, where are the limits?
There's none.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
John, you're extraordinary.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I've discovered my extraordinariness in a lot of different ways. And I will say also about this work that, when I, of course, mirror my physical transformation, my emotional transformation, but it's sometimes easier to explain in the physical sense. Because I remember one moment in particular where I was huffing and puffing and I was carrying something. Actually, I was pushing the war wagon, and I was, you I had reached what I thought was my limit, and I remember you saying, the the, the new you is right at the finish line.
Yeah.
Go meet him.
Go meet him
And
there.
I was so charged to go do that it turns out I had in me what it took to get to the finish line. And I can credit you for getting me to the finish line, but you didn't do it.
I helped you set your intention.
And this is always what this work has been about, is that guess what, everybody, you have to do it.
Yeah.
You have to do it.
It's your
But
job.
there is a clear path, and there is an end point to attach that line.
And you will be huffing and puffing, and you will be you may struggle a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You're totally supported. You're totally safe.
Yep. And as Marcus Aurelius said, the obstacle is the path. So
I say, let's clear the obstacles. Just clean it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to learn why, but we're going to sit anymore.
This is Doc. I love you so much. Go in us.
Love you.